Hey guys, Moves here. Sorry I've been MIA for a bit between BFA launch, leveling, gearing, and real life stuff. I really just haven't had much time to sit down and make a YouTube video. I'm working on the BM YouTube video guide, so hopefully that should be coming out in the near future. I've asked a couple people and some people on my stream, and I've been told that a walkthrough of a dungeon from my point of view would be very useful. I wanted to start a series where I basically take you through a Mythic Plus with me while I'm narrating and commenting on my own gameplay. I'll try and point out why I'm doing certain things, such as saving or using cooldowns, why I trapped something, how we're doing certain skips, what I could have done better, etc. Hopefully this helps. I'm going to start off with a Mythic +14 Freehold that we 2-chested this week. The affixes this week were Bolstering, Skittish, Fortified, and Infested. Alright, so starting up the key. So immediately starting off, we're going to skip a lot of this trash at the beginning because the enforcers and the mastiffs and everything are pretty annoying to deal with, and they take a lot more time than they really need to. So we're actually shroud skipping all the way to the first boss. Alright, so if you didn't know already, there are 2 packs that you can use to activate this boss. There's a pack down the stairs right here, and then there's a pack when you first get into the room way on this side that you can't really see from this angle. But if you pulling either packs and killing either pack will activate the boss. And so you sort of want to pick and choose which side has the most infested, which side is easier to do. The side downstairs has one more add to it. And is actually very bad on teaming weeks. But this week, there's actually no infested, and there's an infested in the first pack down here. And so we actually elect to pull this pack right here. So I throw a tar trap down just to have them slowed a little when the tank gets them up here. So I just open up on cooldowns. I pot and use all my cooldowns here. Since it's fortified, you often want to, you sort of want to just use cooldowns on cooldown, but here, since it's fortified, you really want to try and use your cooldowns on trash rather than bosses, just because the trash is what hurts typically. There are some bosses where you want to save cooldowns for, but most of the time on fortified weeks, you want to use it on trash because that's what hurts. And so here I'm sort of just doing my normal rotation, keeping up 3 stacks right here. You can see I still have my cooldowns running. I have my Beast Cleave running. If you notice when I'm doing my rotation, you can sort of see my spells I'm casting here. Every time I'm AoEing, my AoE is very much multi-shot XX, multi-shot XX, where X can be anything. So right here, multi-shot, Cobra, kill command, and you can see again, multi-shot, barb shot. I multi-shot again just because I didn't really have anything up. I probably could have chimera shotted there and then multi-shotted. You're able to fit 2 globals inside of each multi-shot and maintain 100% uptime on Beast Cleave if you have at least 14% haste. I think I have exactly 14% haste, or 13.8%, something like that. And so here you'll notice a couple things. So let me back up a tad. Okay. Okay, so right here, this Mastiff right here, he gets a raging debuff, which does, I can't remember if it does more damage or if he attacks faster to the tank. So it doesn't matter a whole lot. The tank's kiting everything, and you can see he kites them up the stairs, and I'll show you how he does that in a second. But I actually, preemptively, I know that this Mastiff, one of these Mastiffs is going to get this buff. And I'm actually already attacking the Mastiff. As you can see, my little porcupine dude's attacking the Mastiff already. As soon as this is applied to the Mastiff, I immediately cleanse it right there. If you weren't, so say if I was attacking this Mastiff, I have Barb Shot available, and I think I just used Kill Command previously, and so you can use either of those to swap to your Mastiff, the opposite Mastiff, to cleanse, to purge that Dispel right there. And so I'm just doing my AoE rotation. So the tank, so this is something that tanks can do that not a lot of tanks know about, but in this area, and sort of just in general, like anything with stairs or anything like that where mobs have to walk up, the tank can actually just jump off of right here. So you wait till the mobs get up here, and then the tank can just jump off, and the mobs have to come back down the stairs. And so it saves a lot of damage going off in the tank. It can be a little annoying in this instance. If there's one of the green puddles like right here on the stairs or something like that. We actually had that in a previous freehold. So it can get a little annoying, but most of the time it saves a lot of damage going on the tank. And so if you notice here, yeah, see right there, the enrage went back on the Mastiff, and I actually I soothed this Mastiff right here. The other thing is that this is a bolstering affix, and so typically with normal affixes without bolstering, I would be targeting these low adds and trying to snipe them with Killer Instincts, my execute talent. But on bolstering, it's actually better to make sure everything dies at a similar time. And so right now you can see the HP of all the different adds, and I'm actually focusing the high health add to try and make sure everything dies around the same time. And see right there, that's now the highest add, and so now I'm still AoEing, but I'm now focusing this high enforcer. See, I just purged that Mastiff again. Okay. So that was a pretty easy pull. So obviously I don't have my Aspect of the Wild up right now. I have Bestial Wrath. So this boss sort of pulls if you're anywhere within the vicinity as soon as he spawns. And so you just have to be ready to pull. I actually pre-potted ahead of time before he spawned. So make sure you do that. So right here on the boss fight, so I don't have Aspect of the Wild up, so I can't do my normal opening rotation. And so what I do is I kill command initially to send my pet in, and then I'm going to Crows, Bestial Wrath, and then proceed like normal. Crows, Bestial Wrath, and then I just do my normal rotation. So right here about this boss, you want to be within this circle for this boss, because this ability right here, the charge that he does, if you're standing outside the circle at any point, if he charges on you, the boss will reset. So while he's mounted on his parrot, you want to be inside the arena. So notice, let me back up a little bit. Other side. Okay, there. So notice we pulled the pack on the right, and we did not pull this pack because there's an infested Mastiff here, and that would take a lot longer to kill the infested and then to kill these guys, as opposed to just killing that one pack like we did. But if you don't pull this pack, you need to be very careful to not go within this vicinity, because you'll aggro it. And see how we're all staying towards the middle of the room and then later towards this back half of the room? You don't want to pull this side of the pack, because that's basically a dead key if you do that. Okay, so now we enter phase 2, where the parrot's flying around. So ranged DPS and healers can actually stand outside of this arena. I'm not doing it because they wanted to test. We actually did a freehold previously, and there's green puddles that spawn around the melee, and it can only spawn in the arena. And so they wanted to test to see if I could bait out some of the green spawns inside the arena, which ironically never spawned on me. But range can stand outside of here, and throughout the fight the parrot will just pop up in one of these just in a random direction inside the arena. But you will never get hit, and you don't have to worry about that as long as you're outside of the arena, and it doesn't reset the boss or anything, so you're totally good for range. The other thing is the boss will do a powder shot coming up right here in 8 seconds. Okay, so he's doing the powder shot right there. Okay, this only has a radius of, I believe, 35 yards. I could be wrong on that, but it's not max range. And so what you want to do is, so obviously the tank's moving him around these green puddles, right? So he's going to be moving him around the arena. Typically you want to stand outside the arena and stay max range. So you're still DPSing him, but you want to stay max range. This powder shot will never hit you if it targets you. And so obviously it didn't go my direction, but if it did go my direction, it wouldn't even touch me and I wouldn't have to have moved because I was max range. And so right there, you just saw the bird fly across. If you're outside the arena, you never have to worry about it because he only goes from one side of the arena to the other side of the arena. And so you can see him sort of repositioning to try and stay max range. So she's actually not max range right now, and you'll see in a second that she actually gets hit by the powder shot, and I don't get hit by the powder shot. Right there. So I was max range, it targeted us, and she got hit by the powder shot. Actually, the rogue got hit too. All of us were in a line, which was really bad positioning. But I was max range, and I did not get touched by the powder shot. So right here, you notice that I use my cooldowns right here. Earlier I said that you want to try and use it for trash. Well, the situation with this boss is, one, I'm an execute. Two, it would have lasted through my whole cooldowns. Like obviously I'm about to expire Aspect of the Wild and Bestial Wrath here, and I have plenty of HP left. So it's very good to finish this boss off. And if you think about the packs preceding this boss, there's one pack on the bridge, and then there's some more stuff way down here. But by then my cooldowns are probably going to be back up, and so you don't want to sit on cooldowns for very long Mythic Plus, because you want to get as many uses out of them as possible. So one of the many mistakes that people make on Mythic Plus is they sit on major cooldowns for super long time just to have them up for certain packs of ads. And while that is good, you need to learn the cadences of your cooldowns and when they're going to be up, and then you need to think about what's going to be what trash is going to be you're going to be encountering in the near future, etc., etc. So here I actually go outside the arena. Again, she was not moving, got hit by the powder shot. I was out of range of it, and I did not get hit by the powder shot. And so as a range and hunter, and this, you really should not take hardly any damage if you're doing everything properly. I don't know if I've actually taken any damage this entire fight. Okay, so first boss is down. Go down the stairs. All this trash goes away once you kill the first boss. And so we're just going to, so there's a couple things you can do. These mules are typically free %. If neither of them are infested, neutral mobs also do not bolster regular mobs. And so here we could have actually pulled these mules here. Yeah, neither of them are infested, so we could have pulled these mules here for a little bit extra %. But it's not really a big deal. We didn't really need to pull them. All right, so here in Mythic Plus, time matters about everything. And so here you can see we're actually dragging this Enforcer across the bridge as opposed to killing him in one spot and running across the bridge. And so it may seem very menial to you, but we're minimizing the time of running across the bridge just by DPSing him while we're pulling him across the bridge. Okay, so this section, if you don't know, this next boss is on a 3-week rotation, and there's like I guess you can call it like a little mini game type thing, which triggers which bosses you'll fight for the next boss fight. So this week is we have Captain Jolly and Captain I forget his name, the small little chick is not active this week. And so in this one, all you have to do is go over here, and you'll see in a second, and talk to this person and get a brew. And so it makes you like a little drunk, and it makes your screen a little fuzzy, but it's super easy this week, and it makes a lot of mobs inactive. Typically, so there's a rat that pats around this area, which is super dangerous, and then there's all these little guys here. So some weeks there's 2 guys here that you have to pull, which pulls a bunch of other mobs. You can kill all those guys at once. And there's also the other week is there's this little perky pug that starts out in the middle, and he actually runs to each of these packs around this area. Something that Hunter is really good at if you take camouflage. So notice I have camouflage here. Right now I don't really need it, but on the perky pug week, if you take camouflage, you actually don't have to pull all this stuff. As you can see, it's really infested, and there's some very dangerous packs up north where the perky pug runs to. You can actually take camouflage and stealth, and same thing with rogues or druids or anything. You can take camouflage and stealth everywhere the perky pug goes, so you don't actually have to pull any of this stuff. And so you can complete the event without actually having to do any of this trash right here. So notice we're actually going around this way to skip a lot of this trash. So I actually did not dismiss my pet, and I actually pulled aggro right there, and I quickly feigned death to drop it. That would have been very bad if I didn't. So right here, there are 2 rat packs in this area. There's one that goes up and down right here near the boss, and then there's another one that's like way over here that's in this middle. So we completely avoided all of this stuff in the middle, and this one that goes up and down right here, it's bolstering this week. So we actually sapped this big rat, which is very dangerous, and we pulled all the baby little small rats. So one big thing with bolstering is that you want to try and pull things with equal HP so that they die around the same time. So the rat has an enormous HP pool compared to these small little rats that die quickly. And so something with bolstering is that you want to find a way to either separate them, or you want to focus down the high health one, which is typically a little more dangerous because, you know, if you do kill these, you're going to bolster the big one, etc., etc. And so you have to really control your AoE and bolstering weeks. Here we just pulled these small ones away. They die super quick, and then we go down to this rat right here that's blinded. And so this is the event for this week. We have to talk to this chick right here, which gives us a brew. And so I'm being very careful here. As you can see, these mobs right here will proximity pull. And so I'm inching very closely to talk to her, and then I'm going to just jump down and kill this rat. So something we do, we actually mess this up here a little. So this rat will throw out rat traps, which do a ton of damage. Okay, so something real quick, I'm going to interject right here. We actually pulled more mobs with this mob already. So typically you don't want to do that with bolstering because they have different HPs. Like if you're already beating on one ad, you pull high HP ads, they're going to have different HPs typically. What we ended up doing here is that we killed this rat until it had about the same HP as these 2 guys, and then we pulled them to save time. Okay, so right here, so this the Vermin Rat Trapper casts rat traps, excuse me. Typically, as soon as he casts the rat traps, you want to start moving. So the rat traps are thrown where you previously were. And so typically you can just avoid them just by moving. We were trying something. We sort of messed it up because he wasn't, well, I messed it up, I guess. He wasn't grouped up with us properly. So I actually run into a trap over here. I actually run into someone else's trap when I'm trying to dodge. Demon Hunters and Druids are able to ignore the rat traps. So Druids are able to shapeshift into travel form and just walk on top of them and get rid of the rat traps without taking damage. Demon Hunters are able to blade dance the rat traps without taking damage and removes them. And so here I run into this trap. You can see he blade dances. Or actually, it didn't work that time. Typically, it does work. I think he did it a little too late that time. And so you can see, so we're just sort of killing everything here. We actually focused this down very poorly. We killed the rat trapper very prematurely. We should have killed these a lot more. So they got stacks of bolstering. It's not that big of a deal because they're not that dangerous of mobs. Um, all right, so my drunkenness went away. All right, so something we're trying to do here, we're actually pulling a lot of trash because we don't have lust up. And so something in High Mythic Plus that you want to do, you want to game your lust timer so that you can use lust on crucial things. And so we're actually pulling all of these trash packs and just basically waiting for lust because we want to lust this boss because he's pretty dangerous. Actually, I think we end up lusting a trash, but we'll see in a little bit. So the other thing, again, with neutral mobs is that neutral mobs won't bolster, and so they give free %, and it's very easy to pull neutral mobs with a bunch of other stuff. They don't really do that much in terms of damage, and so right now it's just we're just optimizing our pulls. We're pulling a couple things at once. Okay, so this scrapper gets enraged, and so when he gets enraged, he focuses someone, and if he reaches that target, he actually does a pretty decent amount of damage to them. And so if you see right now, I'm already targeting the scrapper. My little porcupine dude's attacking the scrapper, and as soon as he does that, I purge that off of him. So we're just going, and so I obviously don't have a cooldown to get every scrapper. There's 2 scrappers here. So the DK asphyxiates him and gets that off of him. Alright, so all the neutral mobs are down. Okay, so what I do right here, I'm actually peeling off this mob a little so I can trap this infested guy. So this pack actually pats back and forth, and what I'm doing is we want this pack here in an optimal position, because as soon as we're done with this pack, we don't want to have to wait 10-15 seconds for it to pat back to get into an optimal position. And so mid pack, I'm peeling off and I'm going to trap this guy so that he stays there when we need him for after this pack. So that so you just saw I got pulled into these mobs. I believe it was the harpooner that pulls people in. You should definitely be disengaging that, because not in this pack, but there's other packs where there's a blade storm dude that hurts a lot, and so you should be using disengage to get out as soon as he harpoons you in. Alright, so here I'm blind raging, I'm running away from him. I switch to the scrapper as soon as I'm able to, and I purge that off of him. Again, targeting high health mobs, trying to make everything die at the same time. Sort of swapping between targets here. Kill commanding high health mobs. Boom. So you see this mob was trapped, and as soon as we're done, we pull this infested mob. So everything you'll see here, everything pulls on its way, but we're already whittling this infested mob down. So by the time all the stuff gets here, it doesn't really matter, because we've already killed the infested mob basically. So we're switching off, killing this infested here. If you notice, the demon hunter stunned these infested. Alright, and so now we're dealing with this mob. So water bolts from these guys deal a pretty good amount of damage to tanks, and so we really want to try and interrupt those water bolts here. Again, I'm using cooldowns on trash. I'm not really saving it for bosses, just sort of using it as it comes up. The brine scale here has more HP than all the other mobs, and so we're sort of whittling him down more. He's also the most dangerous out of all these mobs, and so we sort of want to kill him first. That doesn't really happen. We probably should have focused him a little bit more, but it's not really that big of a deal in this pack. Okay, so right here, I have Bestial Wrath available, and you'll notice I'm sitting on it, right? These mobs are very low HP, and basically, right now I'm thinking, if I were to use Bestial Wrath, it would not be I would not be benefiting it from the full duration because these mobs are going to die before Bestial Wrath expires. And so you really don't want to literally just use everything on cooldown. You need to think about it. Like, you're not going to use Bestial Wrath at this point in time because they're literally going to die in 2 to 3 seconds, right? So now I have Bestial Wrath for the next trash pack that we do. So Rogue runs ahead and CCs this infested mob. We come back and pull all this stuff. So now here, this giant has way more HP than all the other things, and so we're actually focusing the giant ahead of time. And so a lot of people are very iffy about using Gale Callers in Mythic Plus. You just have to be smart about your positioning. You see, normally this would force me out of my Gale Callers, but there's a little sliver that I was able to sit in to benefit from that. So now that the giant's about the same HP as everyone else, we're sort of now just AoEing everything, and I'm switching between, well, actually I'm still in the Crusher right now, but I start switching between everything once the Crusher's low. Alright, so now I start switching. Make sure to get that interrupt. So now I'm just sort of making sure everything dies around the same time. Focusing high health targets. Boom, that was beautiful. Everything died basically the same time. Alright, so now we got to go kill this infested mob over here. Alright, so now you'll notice that I'm not using cooldowns. So now I'm saving cooldowns because one is just one mob and he's about to die. So using cooldowns here would be pretty useless, considering we're about to... So I think we're about to, oh, actually we're doing more trash, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, so we're doing another big pull here. I'm actually off in La La Land over here. Okay, so I use my cooldowns here. Okay, so something I want to point out is my starting opener for AoE. So the big thing with AoE is, one, the thing you want to do is maintain 3 stacks. That is your utmost important thing. And you want to gain 3 stacks as soon as possible, while it sort of depends how long the pack's going to last. So this is Fortified and Bolstering, so the pack's going to last probably a good 45 seconds. And so I'm not really dumping all my barb shots super quickly. I'm doing my standard AoE opener here. And so when I started out the pull, I kill commanded my pet into the mobs, and then I'm going to multi-shot, Bestial Wrath, multi-shot, Bestial Wrath, barb shot, and then I'm going to use my Aspect of the Wild, etc. What I could have done a little better, I could have precasted Bestial Wrath, and then barb shot. I wasn't really paying attention when the pull started, so I couldn't really do that, but I could have precasted Bestial Wrath, then barb shot in, and that would have gotten my 3 stacks a little quicker. But I do have a Primal Instincts trait, so I was able to Aspect of the Wild and then Bestial Wrath to get the second one. And as you can see here, you can see my little rotation down here. I'm still weaving in 2 spells in between my multi-shots. 1 to 2 spells in between my multi-shots. Here you can see right there, I maintain my 3 stacks right there. Cobra Shot, kill command. See right there, I actually let my my Beast Cleave drop for a second to throw this tar trap. The tank needed a slow because it's a pretty big pull, so you want to try and help your tank out with slows and CCs and stuff like that. And so right now you can see my my 3 stacks are about to expire, and so my next move would be to hit this barb shot to maintain my 3 stacks. Chimera, kill command, keep my 3 stacks. And right there, I murder crows. I've been holding crows for a little bit because you want to try and get resets with these mobs. And so the thing with bolstering and AoE in general, you want to use a Murder Crows to get resets, and then you also, for bolstering, want to use a Murder Crows to whittle down high health mobs. So this mob is the highest health mob out of all these dudes, and so now I'm actually using crows to help whittle him down a lot more than all the others. So now he's dying a lot quicker than the others because I'm focusing him. And so I actually let my 3 stacks drop right there. I could have maintained it, but I was too busy trying to target swap and stuff like that, and I made the mistake of letting my 3 stacks drop. Okay, so something I'm doing here, I'm not really switching between the 3 targets, but as the tank is moving these mobs, obviously the mobs are moving with him. My pet was attacking this mob back here, and so something you need to think about with as BM is that you need to think about your pet positioning. So if you're AoEing and you're multi-shotting this guy over here, his radius is over here, right? He's hardly hitting any of the mobs. You want to keep your pet central, and so I'm actually using kill command and barb shot to slowly, so here, let me back up a little. Okay, so you can see, so this guy's DPSing over here, everyone else starts moving over off to the left, right? So I'm actually targeting this mob. I kill command, or I attack this guy, and then I target one of these other mobs to keep my pet moving this way, right? You don't want to have your pet just DPSing the back mob. You want your pet to be in the middle of the action so it can cleave everything. Again, the trash is basically dead. I'm not going to use the Bestial Wrath as, like, when the trash is dying, so I'm just holding that for now. Okay, now we're finally going to do the boss. Okay, so this week for Jolly and Raoul, it's actually pretty easy. So Jolly does this little dashy thingy where you just have to move out of the way, and he puts tornadoes down that will just go towards a target location. Raoul puts different ground, so brown ground effects on the ground. So he does a big smash, and then he does like a little ground effect thing that you just have to get out of. So for every fight, if you don't know already, there's this bartender that's hanging out under the nameplates over here. There's always small little brown circles that spawn across the arena. I'll show you in a second, but these small brown little circles, there's 3 types of things that it can be. One of them is a debuff, which does a lot of damage if you stand in it, so you do not want to stand in the debuff one. It's called Caustic Brew. 2 of the other ones, one is a huge haste buff and one is a huge crit buff, and so you do want to stand in those. There are a couple things, so like Raoul does that ground effect, and then there's that tornado that I talked about. Sometimes those effects will be on top of the small little brown circle, and so you don't want to risk getting the buff if one of those other abilities are on top of it. But if nothing's on top of it, or if there's like a little sliver that you can stand in, it's obviously very beneficial to get a crit and haste buff on this fight. So here's a weak aura. I'll link it in the link below. This actually tells you which buff the next brew he's going to throw. So here's the small little brown thing. So everyone, you can see I call out haste buff, and everyone's running towards this small little brown thing to try and get the haste buff. So as soon as it expires, boom, we got the haste buff. Okay, so you can see I got like a little brewy thing coming out of me. That's how you know you have the buff. And so there's all these things. So see how this tornado's on top of this the next crit buff. So and on top of his smash. You see how I'm sort of, I think I get hit by it a little actually. So I'm going to try and stand in this little sliver because the tornado's moving away. So I actually get that crit buff. And so here's another haste buff. And so here's this thing's really close to it, and so you want to stand on this side of it. Okay, here's the debuff brew. You do not want to stand in this one. This does a lot of damage. So you see how none of them are standing in it? The thing you can do with the debuff brew is you can actually tank the bosses on top of the debuff brew. So the tank should not be in it, but you can put the bosses on this debuff brew, and it actually does damage to the bosses. Alright, so now is a crit brew. We're going to go stand in the crit. Alright, so here, this big ol' ground pound AoE thing, I think I try and stand in this little sliver right here, and I think I avoid the ground effect. Oh, nope, I got hit by it. So that was very bad right now. We probably should not have gone for that buff. And so the tank actually dies from it, and we're actually able to tank. So I'm actually, between me, the Demon Hunter, and the Rogue, we're actually able to tank the boss for the rest of the fight. I don't think we use a B-res here. So now I sort of forego getting these buffs because I'm sort of trying to stay away from him. And you can see here my Spirit Beast is actually taunting, or actually tanking the boss for a little while. And so if you notice here, I'm keeping Min Pet on him, and I believe I exhilarate here in a second to try and keep my pet up. So this boss is actually fairly easy. He doesn't melee too often. Okay, so my pet actually dies after tanking the boss for a little while. So I res him, get him back in there. So luckily this boss does a lot of casting abilities. Oh, yeah. I almost got that debuff there. That was scary. Okay, so I feign death here, and we didn't coordinate this. I should have just tanked it with the bop, but I feigned death, and then she bopped right after, and so now the boss is chasing her. So that was a miscommunication between us. But we killed the boss. Everything worked out. Alright, so now we're going to sap this guy out here, and we're going to pull everything inside the arena, and we actually want to start the RP. So this RP takes a while to do, the little pig RP, and so we're actually making use of our time. We're actually killing all this trash while the RP is going. So again, the Crusher has way more HP than everything else. I'm targeting him. I see the enrage effect on the Scrapper. Actually he gets asphyxiated before I can purge it. So just AoEing like normal. And if you notice here, a lot of people don't use potions on trash. If you're doing high keys, I know these potions are super expensive right now, but use potions on trash. You basically just want to use potions on cooldown and treat a potion as basically another offensive cooldown for us, because 900 agility is huge. Alright, so right there you just saw me turn around and throw a trap out here. The CC was about to expire from the sap earlier, and I think the Demon Hunter ended up going out and re-CCing him too, but I threw a trap out there in case he started walking towards us. Having a CC expire as you're killing his mobs and an infested run in and just heal everything you just killed is very, very bad. You don't want that to happen. So remembering to re-CC your ad is very good. Alright, so a couple things I want to say about using Barb Shot here. Ideally, you want to try and ramp up to 3 stacks and stay at 3 stacks. And you want to conserve your Barb Shot stacks to refresh those 3 stacks. Something in Mythic Plus that's different than Raid. As the pack is dying, you want to dump as many Barb Shots as you can. You have Stomp. Obviously, you want to do Kill Command and Chimera Shot prior to, but if you have a lot of AoE and stuff, you want to dump your Barb Shots, because while you're going in between packs, you have time for your Barb Shots to recharge, as well as your cooldowns. And so you basically want to always end a pack with 0 charges of Barb Shot for the most part. Alright, so as you can see, we started the RP. The pig's going around in a circle while we're killing this guy. So we catch the pig while we're DPSing them. Alright, so right here I'm sort of sitting on crows because I want to get this reset. I think at this point we're doing the boss next, so I don't really use any cooldowns here. I actually could have casted crows a little earlier. I misjudged the timing that this guy would die. So it was still worth. I got a good 6 seconds out of crows. So it wasn't an awful use, but I definitely could have gotten probably a good 10 to 12 seconds out of it. All right, yeah. So I think we're going to boss, and Tank's like, oh, just kidding, pulling all this crap now. So Tank pulls all these neutral mobs again. It's just 3%. They don't bolster anything. So it looks like a really big pack, but it's really not that big. All right, so I'm using my cooldowns again, doing my typical AoE opener. Okay, so trash is dead now. Now we're doing the boss. Or mini boss, I guess. Not really boss. Alright, so I don't really have any cooldowns available for this guy. I have Bestial Wrath and Crows, but... so right here, I actually messed up. And so I just wasn't aware of where my barb shot stack cooldown was, and so I actually used a barb shot on pull. I should have waited a little so that I could extend it. Something you do want to do, you want to always have at least one stack of barb shot rolling while Bestial Wrath is going on cooldown. So even though I knew I wasn't going to get a refresh right there, I wanted one stack of barb shot to be rolling while Bestial Wrath was active. Alright, so right now you can see, look at my barb shot stacks. I'm actually waiting until this goes around, until I get about 1.7-ish, 1.8. Okay, right there. So now I have about 2 to 3 seconds left on my barb shot, and now I use it. And so now, waiting allowed me to get a guaranteed refresh even without any procs. And so now I'm able to ramp up. I believe the healer got hit by a shell there, so she died, messed up. All right, so notice that I don't have any charges of. I'm sorry, I am not able to restack. I didn't wait again because I want this barb shot overlapped during Bestial Wrath. So again, typically you want to wait for that ramp timer unless you have Bestial Wrath rolling. Then you want to just use at least one stack of barb shot, regardless of where you were at. Okay, so right here, I'm sitting on Crows a little because I want to make sure that it's going to get the reset because we're about to do some trash in the boss right after this. So. Okay, so. You see how at the very end there I used a barb shot? I wanted to dump the barb shot before he died just to get some more CDR and Bestial Wrath because there's obviously we have all this downtime right here, right? And so I'm just gaining charges of barb shot right now, and so you want to try and end every fight with no stacks of barb shot. All right, so we're sort of debating what to do. I think we end up going pulling a couple things of trash behind me. Oh, no, I guess we're waiting for the boss. Alright, so something I want to point out about this boss, I don't think it's intended right now, but tar traps from hunters are able to bug this boss out. Basically, anytime a shark that he throws hits a tar trap, it doesn't do any damage. So whatever the coding interaction is, I think it's a bug right now, but we definitely took advantage of it. And so you see, I'm not even doing the mechanic right here. The shark isn't even dealing damage to me. And so as long as he goes through the tar trap, he just doesn't do any damage once he's on the ground. And so we're all sort of stacking in melee so that every shark we hit, every shark that comes out will hit the tar trap. And so I just make sure to refresh this tar trap every time. And this fight's basically just a patchwork fight. And see, he does a little damage on the throw, but he just doesn't do any damage on the the target that he's fixating. And so this is just a patchwork fight. We're just whittling him down, very easy. Normally when you don't have this little thing going on, normally you're supposed to kite the shark between blood pools. And so as a BM hunter, you typically want to kite the shark between, you basically want to tell your teammates to move out of the way ASAP as soon as the shark is thrown on them. You want to go intercept their shark, and you want to stay close to the shark and kite it through 2 blood pools. So you're probably going to get hit a couple times by doing this, but you have a lot of sustain between Aspect the Turtle, Spirit Mend. You can pop Exhilaration if you get too low. Make sure to use Disengage and some other things to position yourself properly. Alright, so I don't know what I'm doing. I think we're going away. We're pulling some more trash over here. Alright, so again, I'm just sort of using my cooldowns on cooldown. Just making sure I'm getting my AoE, making sure I'm weaving my spells in. Multi-shot, XX, multi-shot. So I'm sort of just, multi-shotting every 2 abilities. And then keeping a priority of 3 stacks. Then I'm doing, my Bestial Wrath, my Aspect of the Wild, Chimera Shot, Kill Command, etc. Just making sure I'm whittling down the high health targets so stuff dies relatively the same time. Make sure to purge him. Alright, relatively good pack there. Alright, so we're going to do a little more trash before we go across the bridge. So something to say that's unique to Demon Hunters and Rogues. I'm pretty sure those are the only classes. Imprison and Sap. They will not bolster. So if something dies within range of Imprison or Sap, this CC target will not get bolstered. Stuff such as Freezing Trap, Roots, or anything like that that's not a hard CC, it will still get bolstered. So Freezing Trap. So if I were to Freezing Trap this mob instead of Imprison, we would have to pull the mobs back here instead of killing them right here. Banish also does this. Banish also does this for Infested and and Bolstering. Alright, so we just pull the infested mob, just killing it. So we're pulling a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of trash on the other side of the bridge that's infested and really hard to deal with. Since they nerfed the painful motivation, which I'll talk about here in a second, it's actually pretty annoying to do some of the trash up there with infested. So we're killing a lot of the easy stuff over here before we go over there. Alright, so these mobs right here, the Ravagers, cast an ability called Painful Motivation. So if you don't know this, they changed it recently, so I think it caps out at 2 additional targets, plus itself. You do not want to interrupt this Painful Motivation. It kills itself and 2 other enemies. It basically puts a huge dot on them, and it basically obliterates itself and 2 other enemies. Previously, it did not have a target cap, and you could literally pull this entire room and just have 3 painful motivations going out and just kill everything at once. And so here we have another Ravager, so you can check out the painful motivation here. Alright, so I interrupted the C spout. We let painful motivation go off. And you see how it starts killing it and then the other 2 and just starts chunking them down. Makes this super easy. And so we kill this infested. Alright, so now right here, you don't really need a rogue skip. Without rogue, you can just sort of wait till the pat goes up here, and you can sort of just walk up here regardless. But we're crunched for time, and so we're using the shroud skip, and we're just running past everything. And so right here, this positioning, we're just basically doing the boss fight in this little area, this vicinity right here. We don't want to pull any of this trash, and so obviously, if you pull this trash, it's basically wipe. And so you just want to tank him in this little area right here. So we actually lust on cooldown. There's two ways to do this. We decided to lust on pull because when he gets to, I believe, 35% HP, he takes 100% additional damage. So on Tyrannical, you actually want to save lust until that bonus damage portion so that you can obliterate him from that portion on. When he's below 50% damage, or 50% HP, he does a lot more damage and puts a lot more debuffs out, which you'll see in a second. And so a lot of people will save lust just to get that phase over with. We decided to lust as on pull just to get to that damage bonus section as fast as possible. Alright, so I actually suck with these swift thingies. As you'll see in a bit, I'm pretty sure I get hit by them. Alright, so this ability right here that he's casting, I forgot what it's called, Cannon Barrage. So cannons will come and target this area below you. They shoot 4 times. You can stack the first 3 of them on top of each other and have one somewhere else without, like, there's a delay between the animation and the actual damage. And so you see how we're sort of stacking it all, and then we have like 1 or 2 afterwards. Since we only have this area to work with, we want to try and conserve as much area as possible. And so we're all stacking on each other, and we're trying to minimize the damage or the area that we use put those pulls in. Alright, so he also summons adds. As you can see, this ad that's coming over here, if he reaches the target, they'll explode. Hunters can use freezing traps and preemptively freezing trap the ad. There's a lot of other, so he actually, so you can, there are a couple, I think rogues can like sap it, or demon hunters can asphyxiate, Death Knights can asphyxiate. There's a couple things that you can do to this ad. Druids can root it, you know, whatever CC. As long as you CC him out there, he'll explode. There's a couple classes that can make it instant explode. You see, my trap was a little late there, but... Alright, so you see we're waiting a couple ticks for the cannon barrage, then we slowly move over, trying to conserve space right here. Alright, so he just asphyxiated that, and I suck, I just got hit. Yeah, and so the ad dies, barely, and so we run over here, and so now he's at the 100% increased damage mark. I'm sorry, damage taken mark. So I get hit twice, I suck at that really bad. So we're chunking him right now, and so I throw out a trap in case the ad comes while we're doing this. See, I trap the ad, and so he's just going to stay there until he explodes. I use potion, use my cooldowns, and I jumped out of my my Gale. Alright, so I'm sort of staying here for a couple ticks. That was a really bad timing on my Gale callers. But we killed it, and we barely 2-chested it. I think we had like 2 seconds left on the 2-chest.